My name is Stephanie Baldi, and I'm a member of the Carrollton Writers Guild. And today I'm going to read a chapter from my debut novel, Redemption. My genre is suspense, so I hope you will enjoy this. Chapter 3, Nick. Nicholas D'Angelo, better known as Nicky D, drove his black S550 Mercedes-Benz up to the wrought iron gates. He noted the intricate scrollwork surrounding either side of the initials RS in the center. Ernesto Barrios' tall, solid body cast a shadow on the hood of the car, the firearm at his side in full view. Nick slid the window down. Ernesto stooped and peered in. "Ah, Nicky D. Buenos dias, amigo." His lips curved into a smile, revealing a set of perfect white teeth. "It's good to see you again." Nick returned the smile. "You too, Ernesto. Are you keeping that pretty wife of yours happy?" Ernesto straightened and erupted into a belly laugh. "It's like they say, happy wife, happy life." "So I've heard," Nick said, "but I wouldn't know about it firsthand." "Si, amigo. You are the lucky one, a bachelor." Nick balked at the word bachelor. Single by choice, at times he wished for someone to warm his bed at night. Don't fool yourself, it can get pretty lonely. Ernesto winked, moved toward a panel by the gate, and pressed in a code. The gates parted, separating the R and S at the center. He stepped back and waved Nick through. Nick cruised along the drive underneath the massive oak trees stationed on either side, cloaked in Spanish moss. Draped among the branches, the moss swayed gently in the warm breeze, their canopy a welcome respite from the hot sun. A palatial home with cream-colored stucco walls and red tile roof came into view. The wheels of the Mercedes touched the circular drive and glided over the natural stone pavers. Nick's green eyes scanned the manicured landscape. Ornate fountains graced the gardens, exotic plants and flowers perfumed the air. Rows of bonnevilla, already trained to tree form, stood fanned out along a path winding through the property. Weeping bottlebrush trees swayed in unison, showing off fuzzy red blooms. Tall, narrow Italian cypress pressed close to the exterior walls of the mansion. All these things were a demonstration of the wealth and power of the man who lived inside. He emerged from the air-conditioned car and swore under his breath when the humid Miami air assaulted him. Nick hated Miami. He took no pleasure in the blistering heat or the rustle of palm trees. A New Yorker at heart, he loved how he could feel the charge in the air there. Give him concrete skyscrapers, the hustle and bustle, and the change of seasons. They could keep Miami. Hell, they could keep the whole state of Florida, for that matter. His body strained against the confines of the black t-shirt underneath the gray Hugo Boss suit. He stretched, loosening the muscles on his 6-foot frame after the long drive. At 36 years old, Nick was in the best shape of his life. He didn't smoke, rarely drank, and took good care of himself. It wasn't vanity. In his line of work, he did it out of necessity. Known as a ghost among his peers, Nick was at the top of his profession. Invisible, a sure bet to get the job done. Nick hadn't come to Miami by choice. Ricardo Santiago requested he come. Ricardo, one of the world's wealthiest business owners and importers of goods, was also one of the most feared drug lords on the East Coast. Nick had done plenty of work for Ricardo, and today, Ricardo would give him all the details for his next kill. Nick didn't keep track of the body count. He did what Ricardo asked, and was well compensated. A disgraced former NYPD detective who lost his way, Ricardo had saved him, and Nick would never forget it. Nick strode to the massive double oak doors. He swept a hand through his thick dark hair and adjusted his suit jacket. Before he could press the doorbell, Armando, Ricardo's butler, opened the door. 50-ish, short in stature, with a receding hairline, his black and white butler's uniform was pressed to perfection. He dipped his head and bowed in Nick's direction. "Ah, Mr. Nicky D, he is expecting you. Come in, please." Nick crossed the entryway, and Armando closed the door behind him. A grin flashed across Armando's face. "It has been a while, see?" "Yes, it has, Armando," Nick agreed, glancing down and catching his reflection in the imported Italian marble floor lit by the cut crystal chandelier suspended above. "All is good with you, no?" Armando asked. "Wouldn't do any good to complain," Nick said. He followed Armando down the long hall leading to Ricardo's study. Priceless art lined the walls. Nick glimpsed the latest additions to Ricardo's collection. Custom-installed lighting above two new works of art served to exhibit them in all their glorious detail. Outside the study door, Chino, Ricardo's pure white Akita, lay stretched out on the floor. Chino rose and stood erect on all four paws, his massive 130-pound body blocking the door. With a bite pressure of 350 pounds, he could quickly dispatch any unwanted intruder. Gentle with those familiar to him, his tail beat against the tile floor as Nick approached. "Hello, Chino." He bent and patted his enormous head. Nick could hardly believe Chino was the same dog he'd found chained to a tree in the backyard of one of his kills, the links on the chain digging welts into his neck. Half-starved and scarcely able to move, Nick spared no expense nursing the beaten and abused dog he had rescued. Being on the road so much and knowing Chino would have a good home, he presented him to Ricardo as a gift. "How are you, boy?" Chino wagged his tail faster while emitting a low growl of contentment, his dark eyes trained on Nick. Armando tapped on the paneled pocket door and slid it open. Chino padded past him into the study. "You can go right in," Armando said. He moved away and disappeared down the hallway. Nick entered the room and slid the door closed. He inhaled the scent of fine leather mixed with polished wood. Two walls held floor-to-ceiling bookcases filled with expensive custom-bound books. The dark furniture, all imported and handmade to specification, anchored the room. An exquisite hand-woven rug from India partially concealed the rich Brazilian walnut floor underneath. The fireplace mantel held two bronze sculptures on opposite ends, one by Alberto Giamatti and one by Henry Moore. Between them stood a single gilt-edged frame. Inside the frame was a picture of a striking young woman with long hair the color of caramel, full lips, and almond-shaped eyes. No matter how many times he visited, Ricardo's study always impressed him. He might be a drug dealer, but the guy sure had taste, Nick mused. Ricardo sat in a burgundy leather chair behind a large mahogany desk and stared at a computer screen. Chino settled himself at the base, crossing his paws in front. Nick took a moment to look at Ricardo before he glanced up. One would never consider this small man with skin the color of creamy mocha to be anything other than a wealthy, cultured gentleman. Ricardo was certainly that and much more. Ricardo looked up. He smoothed his pencil-thin mustache and his silver-gray hair. Rising, he stepped from behind his desk. "Hola, mi compadre," he said, giving Nick a bear hug. "Welcome to Miami." "It's good to see you, Ricardo, but you know how I feel about Miami," Nick teased. Ricardo laughed. "Yes, you're, as they say, a die-hard New Yorker. Come, my friend, let's have a drink." He strode over to the burnished wood bar, raised a crystal decanter, and poured 2 shots of Asombroso tequila. Handing a glass to Nick, he gestured for him to sit on the leather sofa opposite his desk. Ricardo perched on the edge of his chair. "I know you hate Miami. Still, you should come to see me more often. If not here, then when I'm at my vineyards in California." Nick relaxed into the soft leather. "Yes, you're right. I'll keep that in mind." A slight smile appeared on Ricardo's lips. "I think you understand how important you are to me, my friend. There are not many people I can trust in this life." He raised his glass. "Salud." The warmth of the tequila bathed Nick's throat with the smoothness only an $1,800 bottle of liquor could. "Have you given any more thought to our earlier conversation regarding Carmela?" Ricardo asked. Nick shifted his body, twirled the empty shot glass between his fingers. He cast a glance at the picture of Carmela on the mantel. He'd hoped to avoid the subject of marriage. Nick had known Carmela for a good number of years and watched her grow from a gangly girl into a captivating woman. As of now, she was away finishing her degree at Harvard, her father's alma mater. Carmela was pretty enough, but way too young for a love interest. She was more like a little sister to him than a potential wife. None of that mattered to Ricardo. He wanted a marriage between them. Carmela was to marry someone Ricardo could count on to keep her safe after he was gone. "Ricardo," Nick began, "I care deeply for Carmela." Ricardo's eyebrows shot up, his face questioning Nick's words. "But?" I don't think it's fair to her. She should marry someone who can make her happy. You know I'm not that guy, Ricardo. Ricardo flashed a grin. I think you are, only you do not realize it yet. Carmela would be thrilled to marry you. We have already spoken of it. Nick considered his next words carefully. I'm honored you would entrust me to the future of your daughter. Any man would jump at the chance to marry her. Yes, but I won't accept just any man for my daughter, Nick. I think my reasons are well-founded. Ricardo walked to the bar and picked up the decanter again. He gestured for Nick to hold out his glass and then poured each of them another shot. Nick contemplated the amber liquid for a moment and said, I'm good at the jobs I do for you, but running your business is not in my future plans. Ricardo shook his head. I would turn over my legitimate businesses for you to run. Neither you or my daughter would get involved on the other side. He tipped his glass and drained the tequila. I won't press you any further today. Think about it. Amusement played at the corner of his eyes. The idea may grow on you. Nick nodded and finished his drink. He noticed the smile fade from Ricardo's face and predicted his mood was about to change. Ricardo cleared his throat and set his shot glass aside. Unfortunately, I have urgent business for you to take care of. Hands clenched at his side, he paced the room. An incident occurred a day ago. 2 of my men were murdered and a large sum of my money stolen. A vein on the right side of Ricardo's forehead pulsed. Without warning, he scooped up the empty shot glass and flung it into the fireplace. Shards of glass exploded on the marble hearth. Chino, startled by the sound, lifted his head but made no attempt to rise. Ricardo shook his fist. This should never have happened. I must always keep a low profile. Stunned, Nick cocked an eyebrow. Who? He asked. He was familiar with most of the people who worked for Ricardo. Carlos and Eddie. Ricardo observed the expression on Nick's face. He held up his hand. I know what you're going to say. Well, they weren't 2 of the brightest guys, Nick said. Only a matter of time before they did something dumb. Nick sighed and leaned forward. The muscles in his chest tightened. The tequila lay heavy in his stomach as he processed the news. Carlos and Eddie didn't rank very high. They took care of the little jobs for Ricardo. As you know, amigo, in this business, you can't always hire the best. Ricardo pointed his finger at him. Men like you are hard to come by. I appreciate this sentiment, Ricardo. Still, they didn't deserve to die. What the hell happened? They were assigned to make a drop and pick up cash in Melbourne. Unfortunately, the feds were watching. I ordered them to abort the plan. Most likely, afraid to upset me, they decided to go ahead and make the drop, using 2 locals. Nick shook his head in disbelief. Locals? What the hell? Even I can't imagine them stupid enough to trust outsiders. See, Carlos and Eddie made some bad decisions, but this by far was their worst. Now I am paying the price for their screw-up. It's costing me more than $2 million. If anyone finds out how easy it is to steal from me, Ricardo Santiago, well, I have a reputation to uphold. He sat and folded his hands on the desk. This situation must be handled quickly. Yes, of course, Nick said. Ricardo's face turned dark. When they didn't show up, I sent some of my men to look for them. They found them lying dead, Eddie shot in the head, Carlos in the throat. They removed the bodies and cleaned up the site. The police are not involved in this one. Lucky, Nick said. He set his shot glass on top of the inlaid tile covering the mahogany end table. Yes, lucky, you say. Ricardo's hands gripped the armrests of the chair. I want those thieves found, and I want my money. There can be no mistakes, Nick. Understood, Nick said. I'll do whatever it takes to find them. I hope you enjoyed this chapter from Redemption, and you can find more about me on my website, stephaniebaldi2.com. And also, Redemption is on Audible, and the second one in the trilogy, Retribution, was also released on Audible, and I'm working on the final one, Reckoning. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you very much.